Hey, how's everybody doing? Today is Friday. I left work about 20 minutes early because I wanted to get home to make homemade pizza dough. And yes, that's what we're gonna have for dinner tonight. The pizza dough that I'm getting ready to make, you can put it in the refrigerator or you can freeze it. But in today's case, I'm gonna make it so that I can make the pizza tonight, same day. I am making this right now. We have to let it rise for about an hour, hour and a half. So let's go ahead and get started. I have 1 2/3 cup of water that I measured out and put it in this mason jar, and I already warmed it up. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it in here because it's a little hot. I gotta let it cool off a little bit. The temperature that I want it is around 105 to 110 degrees. I have my handy dandy meat thermometer and I'm just gonna test it every now and again. It is currently at 127-ish right now. So I'm just gonna keep testing that, and as it gets closer to it, I'm going to add the yeast. We'll be using 2 teaspoons of yeast, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1/4 cup of olive oil, and I have 5 cups of flour. You can use all-purpose flour. I happen to have bread flour, so that's what I'm going to use in this recipe. And before I forget, I will be using just a little bit of sugar in with the water and yeast. So let's go ahead and test the water. Okay, we're at a good temperature. I like to, anytime I make bread and I'm dealing with yeast, I like my temperature to be anywhere between 105 and 110. I know I've heard other temperatures, but that's what I use. So that is within range for me. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to add, this is approximately a little over a teaspoon of sugar. I'm just gonna throw that in. I'm going to also put in, this is active dry yeast, and I'm gonna put in 2 teaspoons. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that in and kind of stir it. Sometimes also what I do, like when I'm making bread, whatever sugar base, whatever I use, like sometimes I'll use honey. I usually put that in the hot water and let it all dissolve before I add the yeast, but I didn't do that this time, and that's okay. So we're gonna let that set for a few minutes until it proofs or foams up. So as you can see, it is foaming up. Now this is actually my favorite part. I love to just watch it bubble. Okay, so next I am going to go ahead and add 1/4 cup of olive oil. And I am just going to stir that in. But before I do, I'm gonna go ahead and add, this is sea salt. I'm just gonna add a couple of teaspoons to my flour. And I'm just gonna whisk that in so it's well blended. Because God knows, we don't wanna have a big bite of salt in any piece that we eat. Now this is the point, if you would like to, I sometimes add other seasonings, like I might add I call it SPG, or my trifecta seasoning, which is equal parts salt, pepper, garlic. You can add Italian seasoning to this. So I've added several different things before and it turned out great. So that is good with that. And then I am just going to stir this together, and then I'm going to add my flour and salt mixture carefully, trying not to make a mess. Okay, I'm just going to kind of stir it until it's kind of shaggy. And when it gets to that point, I am going to turn on the KitchenAid and let the dough hook do its magic. I'm just gonna let it knead for probably, I don't know, somewhere between maybe 5 to 7 minutes or so. So I just wanna make sure that no liquid is left behind, and I'm getting down in there. And as you can see, it's nice and shaggy. And then we're gonna get this started. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I am just gonna cut this. This is Italian sausage. We like sausage on our pizza. I'm getting ready to get all of our ingredients prepped and ready to go and cut. So I am gonna go ahead and just cook the sausage in this pan. I think we bought, Todd, did we buy pepperoni? So we have pepperoni. We're gonna have onions, peppers, I think banana peppers. We might have some canned downstairs. But anyways, just cook up your favorite flavor of whatever toppings you like. So, whoops. So I am going to, oh, and this, by the way, is a very handy dandy tool. You can, of course, use your own spoons, but I love this. It helps cut up the sausage as it's cooking. As this is cooking, let me go ahead and show you what the dough looks like. All right, so I went ahead and kneaded this for, it was a little over 6 minutes. It said 6 to 8 minutes. It is feeling pretty good. Okay, so I'm just going to knead it just a couple more times on this counter. Counter is clean. I'm gonna knead it into a ball, and then I'm going to show you what I'll do next. The mixer does a great job. You can knead this the whole time if you would like, but I find it so much easier just to throw it in the KitchenAid and or whatever mixer you have with a kneading hook, just to get most of the kneading done and out of the way. And then you can just kind of come behind and for the last minute or two, do your own kneading. All right, so as you can see, look how smooth that looks. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the same bowl. No need to dirty anything else. Oh, I can get this off of here. And I am just gonna kind of grease the bowl, and I'm gonna spin that around and get that greased up. I gotta go get the saran wrap so I can cover that. I'll be right back. Okay, so the sausage is coming along nicely. I have the dough rising over here. We're gonna let it rise approximately 1 to 1.5 hours until it doubles in size. So I'll get that on, and while I finish cooking this, I wanna make sure it's thoroughly cooked, and then I'll chop up all the other vegetables that are going to go on top of the pizza. And let's see. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and finish all that, and we'll be right back. So we have the dough. It rose beautifully. I think it was probably close to 1.5 hours. If you remember what it looked like before, this is like to the top. So we are going to punch it down. We're gonna let Hayden do the honors. She's all about punching dough. As it slowly deflates. Okay, so I am just going to bring this out on, let's spread that out better. All right, so I am just going to slightly knead just to bring it to a ball shape, although it was kind of already a ball shape, but that's okay. So I am going to cut this into 8 pieces as equally as possible. So if you wanted thicker pizza, you would just stop there with the 4 pieces, but we're going to do a thinner Neapolitan style pizza. So we're going to cut it into 8. And then what we're going to do, I'm just going to kind of put all of them aside, and then I'm going to try to roll it out in a round shape. And I will do that for all of these, but just to save some time, I will show you what I plan to do with this. And you don't want your dough drying out, so make sure it's covered. You can reuse your plastic wrap. Just kind of put all these together. Now this is of course how I make my pizza. I know there's a lot of different ways on how people make their pizzas. So I just have a rolling pin, and once it is in the round shape, then you just start rolling it out as thinly as you can. I am not a perfect roller, so it's not going to be a perfect circle, but it's going to be just as delicious. So let me go ahead and get this rolled out, and then I'll show you the next step. So I went ahead and I took all those triangles. I wanted to go ahead and do this first, and I probably should have done it the first go around, is cut them into balls, and I'm going to try to make it as much of a ball as possible. And then let me show you what I'm going to do with them. I have oil on this cookie sheet, and I'm just kind of covering it with oil. As you notice, some of them are a little bigger than others, but I am going to let these set. I'm going to cover it in plastic. I am going to continue rolling out my first dough ball, but in the meantime, I'm going to let these set here, and they will probably continue rising a little bit by the time I get to them, but it's going to be worth it. Okay, just going to continue rolling to the size that you desire, using the available dough that you have, of course. So when we do these, we like to make all individual pizzas. That way we can have whatever toppings we love without having to worry about if somebody else likes a different type of topping. So this recipe I have used before, and we actually cooked it out on the grill. Todd has a pellet grill outside, and it turned out great, but it was a lot of in and out because you cook the crust first for like 3 minutes on the grill where it is screaming hot. I think the temperature was at around 500 degrees. Todd, do you remember? Okay, it was like either 450 or 500 degrees on the grill, so it's screaming hot before you put it on. We have a stone that we set on the grill, and then you throw the dough on for like 3 minutes, and then you take it off. I went and purchased several of these little pizza pans. They weren't that much. I think I bought them at Walmart for maybe a couple bucks each, and I keep them, of course, so we can keep reusing them. So I'm going to do this 2 different ways because I'm curious how it's going to turn out, since it is the oven that we're going to be using. I have the oven set at 450 degrees. I am just going to place this dough on the pan, and I'm just going to cook it for a couple of minutes just to get it heated up. There is a stone in there, but I'm going to set this pan right on the stone. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see how long it takes. Okay, so I have some canned pizza sauce that we made last summer. So I'm just gonna put some sauce on first. I'm going to add a little bit of sausage. Oh, before I do that, I almost forgot. I like a little extra seasoning. So I'm gonna put on a little bit of granulated garlic, because I love garlic. And then I'm going to put a little bit of Italian seasonings. I know, I love the flavor. And then I'm going to do a little bit more sausage. We do have pepperoni as an option, but I don't know. Pepperoni, I can take it or leave it. I like eating pepperoni on its own, but for some reason on pizzas, it's not like, I don't know. It's not huge for me. I'm going to throw a little bit of onions on here. I just thinly sliced the onions. I sliced up some mushrooms, so I'm going to throw that on here. So I have some mozzarella cheese that is already in the fridge. I'm going to use this up first, and then Todd went to the store today and bought some of this. So we have this to use as well whenever this is done. So let me go ahead and sprinkle some of the cheese on here. I'm trying to keep it away from the edges. but that's another reason why I have the pan. So if it does kind of bubble over and it makes a mess, no problem, we can clean it up. And I love cheese as well. So I don't know if you noticed, the crust is pretty much cooked whenever I popped it in, but I'm going to finish cooking it even longer with all of these ingredients, which nothing is raw on here in terms of meat. The only thing raw are the vegetables. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this into our 450-degree oven. I'm gonna probably cook it maybe another 3 to 4 minutes, and we will see how that turns out. So I had to keep setting the timer. I wanted to make sure it was kind of browned. It took about 10 minutes. So this is what it looks like. Let me go ahead and get it out. Whoops! Sliding off my platter here. Okay, so this was the crust when we put it in first to cook for about 3 minutes. So it was already kind of cooked. Took up another 10 minutes with all the toppings. Now this pizza Todd put together, we're going to experiment with this since we're cooking it in the oven this time and not on the grill. The dough is still raw. We haven't cooked it yet. So I'm gonna pop it in for probably 8 to 10 minutes to start, and we'll see how this turns out. So while we're waiting, I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this pizza, and we're gonna sample it. It's very crispy, which if you don't like super crispy pizza, you're not gonna like this. I just wanna throw that out there because that is what this pizza is. It is a crispy pizza, similar to a Neapolitan style. So I'm gonna go ahead and, ooh, it's a little warm. I'm gonna let it cool for a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and taste and see if it is completely done. That is very good. This is very, very tasty. I love it. And I like to add the extra seasonings to the sauce. It makes it even better. It gives it a deeper flavor, adds layers to the flavor as well. As soon as the other one comes out of the oven, we'll taste that just to see what the difference is. You know, it's got some texture to it. You can tell it's crispy. Okay, so let's wait until the other pizza gets done and we will go ahead and taste that and just compare the two. So this was Todd's pizza. We did not cook the dough first and it pretty much stayed flat. I'm sure it's still gonna taste the same. I'll let Todd be the judge. But if you notice the difference when you cook that dough first for even, it was like 3 minutes. Well, it was either 3 or 4 minutes I popped it in the oven. It puffs up a little bit on the sides. So I think moving forward, even though it's an extra step, I am going to go ahead and cook that dough for about 3 to 4 minutes before putting my toppings on and cooking. So if you're looking for a delicious way and very inexpensive way of having a dinner, you should try making homemade pizza at home. I hope you enjoyed, and I appreciate you taking your time out to watch this video. And until next time, thank you for watching.